You are listening to Pause. We pause for a second or two. This is episode 152, Art of Losing. It is not always clear if we will win or not. Sometimes we do win, and sometimes we do not. But losing, on the other hand, is sometimes certain. Living, to some extent, is about losing. So basically, one of the premises of living is that we are given life and then slowly or quickly we will lose it. Losing is certain. So the question when it comes to losing is not about whether we will lose or not. Rather, the question is in how we lose. What do we do when we lose? This is what is important when it comes to the inevitable losing that is part of all of our life. Today's episode is called Art of Losing, to, in a sense, make an art of it. And the Polaroid for today's episode, the emotional skill of today, is specific skill routines. So, right now, we live in highly stressful times. Right now, there are so much conflict all over the place. And whenever there is so much conflict that there is now, and it might even increase and be even more conflict, when there is so much conflict, inevitably we will all lose. It is impossible to make it through such turbulent times such as these without losing. We might not lose everything, but we will lose some things, and we might even lose a lot. And that is why we speak about art of losing, to make a craft out of it. What do we do when we lose? What do we do when we are about to lose something or someone? routines, specific skill routines. Once every week, I have a routine. I go out running at least once every week. And when I do so, I get in touch with how my body feels. And I choose to run a rather long run. So it is impossible not to feel the full extent of how tired I am, how sad I am, how angry I am, how helpless I feel, how brave I feel, how cocky I feel. So once a week, this routine, this physical routine, I get a measuring point, I get a reference point of how has it felt to lose things during this week, during this past week. I remember how it felt last week, and then I will know from how it feels this week how much I have lost and what I have lost. When I am out there in the countryside running, and there are vast fields on my left, there are vast fields on my right, and just the road, straight ahead, the road, and the pain in my body, as well as the nice feeling in my body at the same time, both pain and pleasure. And I run there, and I know what I have lost. It is impossible not to feel what I have lost when I'm running like that. I can feel it throughout. I can feel it in specific places. I can feel it in my sort of entire posture, how heavy I feel, how light I might feel, how strong or weak I feel, how hopeful or how despairing I feel. What is important here is not to do exactly this. It's not important to exactly go out running necessarily once a week. But what is important here for this specific skill, for our art of losing, what is important is to consciously, with regular intervals, regular time in between, do something for the explicit purpose of getting in touch with our sense of loss. Once a week, I check in with myself and get to know how it felt to be me this past week. What did I lose this week? We are losing a lot right now. There are so many people suffering. There is so many paradoxes, so many problems which seem unsolvable. So inevitably people lose. People lose both things and people. We lose what we have known. We lose what we have cherished. We lose what was predictable and gives way to unpredictability, gives way to rootlessness. And if we don't make an art of it, if we don't make an art of losing, if we neglect checking in with ourselves regularly, explicitly how we feel about losing, the very real things that we are indeed losing, if we neglect that, then we will all at once, without warning, be overwhelmed by our very real, very legitimate sense of loss. It will come back to us at some point. It becomes like this rubber band of loss, and we are pulling this rubber band more and more and more and more. And then all of a sudden it is released and it snaps back. And then we can feel nothing else but overwhelming loss. And such an overwhelming loss, such an accumulated loss, is devastating. It changes our personality when it comes so much at one and the same time. When we are flooded with so much confusion all at the same time in one moment, flooded with this massive wave of loss and confusion. But that is not necessary. It is not necessary. Not if we do specific skill routines. Not if we, once a week, let's say once a week, why not? Once a week we explicitly check in with ourselves and do something wherein we acknowledge and dignify that we have indeed lost something or someone. And then, when it comes to loss, there is one other aspect of it that is less straightforward. One aspect that is not really straightforward at all. And that is that we have personal and irrational reactions to it. Specific skill routines and making an art of losing is all fine and well in an everyday sense. It's all fine and well to a certain degree. But then we have the kind of loss where we are at a loss. We are at a loss about our loss. When a rational reaction does not feel rational. When the irrational feels real and is real. It is important to also make room for our own irrationality. as we look around right now, there are a lot of different expressions of irrationality from people. And that is not in vain. Irrationality is a very real part of our lives. It makes us feel alive, makes us feel part of everything. Life would be strange if it was all rational. It would be strange and detached. Rationality is in itself detached. And sometimes we are very much connected. And when we are truly connected with someone or something, then we will not have a rational reaction to the loss of it. We will become irrational. We will make something strange. We will do something strange. And that is how it's supposed to be. It's not very easy to give ourselves permission or leeway when it comes to rationality, but it's the truth. I am irrational, and it is supposed to be like that. If I would not be irrational, then I would have no real connection to anyone. Connections are irrational. Real, but irrational. And we may spend much time thinking about our own rationality or irrationality. We may spend a lot of time trying to outsmart both ourselves and life. But at some point, we will simply reach a place within ourselves, in our own thinking and perceiving things, where none of that matters anymore. When all that overthinking stops mattering, and we simply do. We simply react and simply are people. And those moments are interesting, when we find ourselves just doing. Those moments are interesting. That's it for today. Thank you.